What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today I'm bringing you something really awesome. It's a little different than my previous videos, but I wanted to do a sort of showcase of a MOC that me and my friend Raphael came up with. But it starts with this box of Legos right here, which is an interesting story. So my good buddy Raphael, he's a really big Lego builder. We always like to build together. Anyway, he was down at shopping at an old thrift store down in Colorado Springs. And in the back, he found an old box, cardboard box, with a $25, $20 price tag on it. I think it was 25 or something. So he noticed there were Legos inside. So naturally, he opened it up and he looked through a little bit and he started finding some really cool pieces. You know, he found awesome old space pieces like this one, some visors that had almost no scratching on them at all, and most importantly, some awesome Lego space minifigures and some castle ones as well. So upon finding all these, he realized it was a great deal. These old Legos were super pristine. They're honestly surprisingly in great shape for being about 30 years old. And one day he brought them over and we just went through them and we kind of just ran away with it. We decided to build something just out of these. Didn't want to add any new pieces to it. We just wanted to see what we could do. And because there were a lot of space pieces, you know, I started building a spaceship. He started building some little moon rovers, and then it turned into a space station. So I just want to showcase what became our take on Lego space that was born out of this awesome lot of really pristine, really old Lego pieces. So I hope you guys can enjoy. All right, so let's talk minifigures for a moment. Now, the best thing about this Lego lot certainly was the minifigures that came with it. Just some really cool classic minifigures, like I said, in pristine condition. As you can see, none of these visors are broken. Those old space helmets, if you don't know, were really infamous for being a little bit unreliable. The visors were too thin, they would break off, and you'd get like this sort of cracked up looking helmet. Actually, my buddy Raphael has a bunch of these in his collection, but they're so played with and worn out that every visor is broken. All of the little Mars symbols on their chests have been completely wiped off, and I had never seen space minifigures in person in this pristine of a state, and boy, it is really cool. I think I was surprised at how good these looked. These guys are fantastic. I'm kind of in love with these minifigures now, to be honest. I was always kind of a fan of classic Lego space, but now that I have some in their pristine condition, I just think, yeah, these guys are amazing. The colors are so vibrant and they look so cool just having one color of a suit. There's the black one, who is probably my favorite, I think. I just think the black suit looks really sweet. Also, we only found one minifigure with a black spacesuit, so that's really cool. Minifigure in the white suit, he has a little bit of fading on his left arm, but this minifigure is awesome. I love that it came with the white, I guess it's supposed to be a camera, but when we were kids, we always called it an MK. I guess some sort of laser weapon, but either way, I never had one in white before. And it looks really cool when it's equipped with this minifigure. Also, the white spacesuit is most reminiscent of real spacesuits. I think I have 2 of those. Then the red one, there were 3 included in the set, along with a bunch of extra red helmets, so I'm not sure what that's about. But the red one, again, just is probably my second favorite. That red is such a great color in Lego. It's so vibrant, it reflects light very well, and it looks nice as a suit. And then finally the yellow one, who is, he's cool on his own. I have 2 of those as well, but I kind of think his yellow outfit makes him look a little naked, considering it's the same color as his skin. Maybe if you put a flesh-colored helmet or a flesh-colored face in there, it would look better. Actually, a fun note, I did try to give these guys some different faces just to make them look a little bit distinct, but regular Lego faces don't quite look right on these guys. I think the way the smiley face is positioned on their head with these old figures just makes them look better with the old style helmets, but these guys are awesome. I couldn't believe when I found these in such pristine condition, and I'm certainly going to display these for a really long time. I'm a big fan of the Old Space minifigures, the Old Space logo, how they look with just the monocolored outfits. They're awesome. So Raphael and I decided to go the Lego space route with our MOCs, but the collection did have some awesome Lego castle minifigures involved. And these guys are a lot more unique, I think, than the space guys in terms of just their gear. They have printed torsos, really cool printed shields, and their helmet molds are awesome. Actually, that black sort of foot soldier helmet is one that I didn't have any of in my collection, so it was cool to get a couple of those. And thumbing through and finding these knights and all these weapons was really an awesome find. I'm not the biggest fan of Lego Castle in terms of MOCs and builds, but the minifigures through every castle line, I think, in Lego have always been really cool. And so it was awesome to get some of these classic guys. I particularly like the guy with the blue feather on top of his helmet. You know, I've seen those feather pieces before, but I've never actually seen one in that shape, and I think it looks really sleek. I'm surprised Lego has never remade this piece. Not to mention these guys have awesome shields, including the round one that has a stud in the center, so you can put maybe a light on there, or you can actually build out from that shield a little bit, which I think is pretty neat. So these guys were an awesome little Easter egg to find in a collection that was mostly Lego space. Now, minifigures aside, this collection also came with some really bizarre, cool old pieces. Stuff like what we see is this little, I guess, scooper from a construction vehicle. It has a bunch of studs on the side running diagonal at really an angle you don't see in Lego, and then it has a 2x2 base at the bottom. It's actually two pieces that you can place on like a 2x2 or any, I guess, 4 studs. Another one of my favorite pieces was this printed wall piece. I don't know if you guys know what's going on here. I have no idea. I tried to look this up and see what set it was from. Maybe I didn't look hard enough, but I didn't find it, so it's kind of funky. This piece is just hilarious to me. It's got this little spaceman looking up, this wide-angle shot of a rocket or some sort of spaceship, I guess, about to be launched at the moon, and maybe that's the set number that's listed on top. I don't know. I think this is a really neat piece. I couldn't really figure out where it was supposed to go in the builds. Like, was it supposed to be some sort of computer? Was it supposed to be a wall with art on it? I don't know, but it is an awesome print, and I would guess that it's pretty rare, because I've certainly never seen it before. Also, another piece that's really neat is this antenna. At first, when I was looking at this, I didn't even think it was Lego. It has a very rubbery feel to it, and it just doesn't look like something that Lego would use as a whole piece. I feel like if Lego wanted to incorporate this into a set, they would build it out of multiple pieces. But instead, it is indeed just one big piece. It is sort of a long stand with that antenna on the top. Then it looks like it's stuck into a 1x1 cylindrical piece, but it's not. They're both together as one piece. I thought this was really cool. And then finally, the last piece I wanted to show off was this bizarre garage door. Raphael tried to use this in the space station, but it was yellow and he didn't have enough pieces, so I think he abandoned it, but I think it's pretty neat, and I kind of want to incorporate it into something. As you can see, it opens and closes just like this. Super crazy stuff. So the first little creation I wanted to show off is the Spaceship, which I built over a couple of hours, basically right after we started unpacking these old Legos. I think it turned out pretty cool. It's got a little bit of a sleek look, but not too sleek. That's basically the best you can do with these old school Legos. It's got the very black and gray and blue color scheme of Lego Space, combined with the transparent yellow cab, and of course it's got some huge little rocket boosters on the back that are a little ridiculous, but I find pretty hilarious and fun. Now, when I build spaceships, I think it's fun to put 2 drivers in there, make the cockpit a little bit bigger, why not? So here we've got the captain, who is the only spaceman that came with the lot that was dressed in all black, and then the guy in white is the gunner. So I'll show you guys a little bit of the cockpit here. So I'm going to turn the turret out of the way, but the front section first opens, and you have, that's where the captain sits. He's got a little computer here. These printed computer pieces, there were a bunch of them in the collection, and I've always been a huge fan of printings and those old kind of fuzzy looking printed computers. I actually think they just look really cool, so I was happy to find a bunch of those. It's got one of these old dual opening cabs, which we almost never see. I don't even think Lego makes this hinge mechanism anymore, which kind of bothers me because I really like this old hinge mechanism, but I'm old school. So it has the square piece that also opens, so it can open on 2 hinges, as you see right there. And then in the back, we have a little back cockpit for the gunner, and that turned out pretty neat. I really wanted to add a gunner to this ship. It was tough to find a windshield or space for him in the back, but if you can see clearly through the windshield there, he's got a little lever where he controls the turret on top for fighting alien spaceships or whatever they might be encountering out in space. And he's also got a little targeting computer back there. This little center console, right now it's got the captain's hat on it, but that's just where he keeps his helmet when he's not driving. I'll show you what it looks like here in a second as we put the minifigures inside. Here we have, you can see the captain is very happy about being in space, just driving right there on all these smiley face minifigures. And then in the back we have the gunner as he's sitting, wearing his helmet, I guess, just maybe for safety, or I couldn't exactly fit 2 helmet stands in there, so be happy with that. And then there's, you can see the helmet goes right on this little stand right in between them, so if they need to get out and explore a foreign planet or whatever, he can, the captain can put his helmet on. Looking back at this, it kind of reminds me of the snow speeders from Star Wars, where you know, Luke's sitting in the driver's seat and he has a gunner in the back who unfortunately meets a sad fate and gets blown up out on the snow battle. But it kind of actually reminds me of that, the sort of front-facing driver and back-facing gunner. I think it ended up looking really cool. And here's a view of the back of the ship. I think I just knocked off a piece right here. My mistake. There we go. Here's a view of the rear side of the ship with the awesome rocket boosters, those transparent red cone pieces. I thought worked perfectly for that. One of my things I kind of regret about this build is these top wings, although they look pretty nice, they're super loosely attached. I wish I could have made that a little bit sturdier, but with the pieces I was given, I only had this really old piece, and I just had to put a 1x1 piece on there to actually allow the wings to attach, and they're just attached on one stud that's not actually flush. So that was my least favorite part about the build. Then there's the turret on top, which is just this sort of really simple looking maybe blaster gun that can rotate all around and go up and down to dogfight other spaceships. That's what the guy in the back drives. And if we look at the bottom, you can see I've got some sort of tubing running from the engine. These yellow tube pieces I thought were really cool, so wanted to incorporate those. I think tubes like that always add a really cool element to a Lego build, just make it look like there's some interesting, funky space technology going on there, attaching to these really super cool engines. And so I'll just spin it around for a second. If you guys take a look and be the own judge of it. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. You know, still has the classic space vibes, but I think it's a little bit smoother and more compact than a lot of what the old space sets seemed. And it has a turret on the top, which is always nice because, you know, you don't want to be defenseless out in space. So the next little component of our space MOC collection that we came up with are these little moon rovers that Raphael put together. They're just these sort of closed one-seater vehicles, and there's 2 of them, which was surprising to me and to Raphael. They look really neat. I kind of like the funny look with the huge wheel in the back and the small wheels up front, but I think it makes sense for, you know, something that would be driving around on the moon. Maybe it'd need a lot of traction. I don't know. Anyway, Raphael's inspiration for these was this sort of hood piece that you can see right here. It's kind of a funky old piece. I didn't even know it was this old, actually, before we found it in this collection. It's sort of the front of a maybe dune buggy. I can actually Just peel this one apart real quick to show you guys that. Just take off these front panels here. So you can see it's got these awesome studs on the side, which is how he was able to put on those panels, and it's got like kind of a nice smooth design up front and this really funny, really simple striping that I think, I mean, Lego tried at printing, I guess, with this one, but I think it looks a little bit underwhelming with that stripe, but still cool nonetheless. And this piece is an awesome piece to build around. That's what Raphael was going for. So get this out of here. I'll show you what these were with this one. As you can see, he made the cab out of one of these old, I think they're supposed to be ladders or something. Either way, I think it looks really cool as a little visor to make the front visor out of that piece. That's something that actually in both of our building styles we like to do a lot, is use graded visors on builds. I think they look kind of cool, and that was a nice workaround with this thing. And of course, it's got the really big side windows, so maybe you can't see much out of the front, but he can definitely see around while he's driving around out in space. And of course, as always, we have a really neat opening mechanism that opens the roof and the back at the same time. There were a lot of these hinge pieces in the collection, and so we really took advantage of that, especially as you'll see later with the space station. There's also some cool use of hinges on there. So you just open that up, and there's a minifigure inside. He's got another awesome printed computer. I think the other little moon rover has the one that has the running text that kind of looks more like an old maybe PC. This one has some buttons and a little, looks like crosshairs console, which makes sense for the little gun that's on the side. So yeah, these guys turned out really awesome. I think it was a really funny way to use a lot of old pieces, and it turned out looking like a cool little moon rover that looks really good with the rest of the moon pieces that we built. These front wheels, by the way, I just want to point out, Lego doesn't make these anymore, I think for good reason. They're pretty cumbersome and hard to build around, but Raphael, instead, he took advantage of the large wheels and made them a part of the creation, which I think was a good job, and props to him for building two of these. They're a nice little pair of moon rovers. They go well with the whole diorama. All right, now I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a tour of the sort of space base that my buddy Raphael and I put together. Now this, we were kind of going for, you know, that classic space feel. There's a lot of blue and gray pieces involved with the old transparent yellow, and of course we were using all those classic space pieces that were bought at that thrift store, and this is sort of our own take on the old Lego classic space. So I'll just give you a tour, sort of starting out with this side over here. We have the space base. Inside there's a little control panel. We've got an upper deck on top, and then down inside there is a lower deck where we've got a little machine gun turret on the outside for defending against those alien races. But this part actually opens up with these cool little transparent sort of window platform pieces that I really enjoyed. It opens up and you can see into the turret control. As you see, the turret and landing platform actually opens up, and there we can get a view of the interior, which is super neat. Raphael sort of built the exterior of this, that awesome opening mechanism, and then on the inside I added, as you can see, there's two little helmet stands. There's like the space commander there sitting at this awesome little command station desk. Just with some controls, I wanted to give that room a little bit more detail, certainly more so than you saw in all those old space sets. And I loved some of those computers that they have that came in the collection. There were a lot of them, so really put them to use here in this set. So that showcases that piece of the build. I'll go around, sort of show you what the minifigures are up to. We just have this guy sort of walking along next to some of these tubes. I kind of just put these here for decoration. I thought they looked cool as if they were running maybe some wires underground. And then on the other side we have these guys who are loading up some fusion coil things. You see we've got a spaceship right here. This is the same spaceship I showed you earlier, and it actually has its own landing platform that it can lean up and take off of. Sort of balances up there and then takes off, and that is what they're doing right there. And then we have this sort of outer area of the build where we've got this kind of satellite tower thing going on. This is something I put together to add on to the base, as I was spending a lot of my time working on the spaceship, but then when I saw my buddy was working on the base, I decided to add on this little satellite tower. You can see right there. We've got a little storage shed, and then over here we can see some minifigures collecting some space rocks back there. So this, yeah, this whole set I think turned out looking really, really neat altogether, and it makes for a nice little diorama. I actually have it out on display in my kitchen sort of living room area, and I haven't brought myself to take it down. I think it looks pretty awesome over there. All right, and that does it for our look into my take on Lego Space with all these awesome classic pieces. Really had a lot of fun building this whole diorama, the spaceship, and adding all the minifigures into it. Just getting a look at classic pieces. You know, it was a different time for Lego, an earlier, simpler time, and buying a lot of almost untouched, pristine, classic Lego pieces and then building something using only those was a really fun experience and a little bit of a challenge, but ultimately I had a good time, and I think Raphael and we churned out a really cool build. Whatever kid owned this before us clearly didn't play with them enough. Anyway, this is just a little showcase video for you guys. I'm probably going to be doing these every once in a while, but I will be back on the tutorial game for my next video, so hopefully you guys can build along with that. But in terms of this big space showcase, I just wanted to take a look at some really old Legos, take this opportunity to just make a video about that awesome set of Legos that Raphael bought and what we were able to make with it. And I'd encourage anybody to try this challenge. If you ever find some old Legos, before you start sorting them in and mixing them in with your own, maybe try to see what you can come up with. I hope it inspires some great other builds out there that I would love to check out, and I certainly enjoyed building these. Hope you guys liked the video. Until next time.